Welcome into the I-80 Boys College Football Show. I'm Christian Hunt, and that guy right over there is
The resident Nebraska fan, Chris Vaca here.
Yeah, Chris. How are you? How are you doing today?
Well, considering the fact I jumped out a window last night, I'm still here, Christian. I guess I'm doing okay. How about yourself, man?
Couldn't complain. Didn't do so hot on the bets this week, but hey, we're getting there. It's a process, right? It is a process. So just day by day, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely, man. A couple good games last night, though, for Friday Night Football. I went 2-3 out of my bets. We'll talk about the one game that was pretty upsetting for both you and I.
Absolutely, Chris. Let's do this. Let's kind of jump in here. We'll take a look at some of the general going-ons of college football going into this Saturday Week 4 edition of the preview show. Got Monkeever in the chat there. There we go. We got Utah, Cam Rising. Surprise to you at all, Chris?
No, they're going to do this game time decision thing. I think last year, they did this every game for Cam Rising, and not once did he play. I don't know, Christian. I don't know if they play him or not. I mean, I know it's his non-throwing hand. I think if Utah wants a chance to win this game, though, they're going to have to play him. But I don't know, man. I'm not a team doctor, but boy, I wish for one time, though, the kid just wouldn't get hurt, and we could see Utah at full capacity once. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they're doing this thing, and I get it. It's a strategy. You don't want to let the other team know. I mean, but we went through this whole thing last year with Cam Rising, where we really didn't know how severe that injury was until about halfway through the season, and we realized, hey, I don't think he's going to play this year. Mm-mm. So, yeah, obviously, if Rising plays, you like Utah in this game. If he doesn't, you probably going to lean more Oklahoma State, right?
I kind of changed my mind about this more. I think about it. I mean, I still think if he doesn't play, and their backup quarterback, I can't think of his name. I'm drawing a blank now, but Isaac Wilson, is that right? Zach Wilson's little brother or whatever, the MILF hunter. Yeah. I think that I think they still have a chance in this game, but I think Rising, which is obvious and evident, he gives you the best chance to win this game just with his dynamics and just with the fact he's played a lot of college football in a tough environment. But yeah, it's going to be tough. I do think regardless. So I think this will be a really good game, though, regardless who plays at quarterback. I think, Utah's got a really good defense. They're not as explosive as, Oklahoma State is on offense, but should be a really good game today. One of the more exciting games to watch.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, you said it exactly right. I mean, it should be a great game, and that's what we look for here on the show is just great games. Had a great slate of games last night. Some of the outcomes weren't what we wanted, but, hey, that is life sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
UNC, they're going to start their third different quarterback in 4 games. Chris, what is going on over there at UNC?
I can't. What's it, Johnson? He got hurt against Minnesota week 1. He was I think he transferred from. Well, he was at LSU at one time and in A&M, wasn't he? Wasn't he at both those schools? Max Johnson, but yeah, he got hurt terribly in that game. And then I can't think of the kid they tried to play after him.
Harold or something.
There you go. And then, now they're going to rotate another kid in there. And I don't know. UNC has really struggled this year. They did lose a lot of people off last year's team. They were supposed to be a dark horse ACC team, kind of shit the bed at the end of the year. But man, that's just one of those tough things for UNC this year. It should be. They're favored by 10 today over James Madison. It wouldn't shock me if James Madison comes in and pulls off the upset, though. It really wouldn't.
They got to find some consistency there. I think that they're just right now they're a program with nothing to lose. I mean, this to me is a situation. If this season kind of goes really south for them and continues on this trajectory, this might be Mac Brown's last year at UNC.
Yeah, he's been coaching for a long time, Christian. And I was thinking about that today, not to park it here on UNC, but you think about some of the teams that he's had at North Carolina the past 5-6 seasons. If they had any resemblance of a defense, they probably would have won an ACC title. You know what I mean? They've had great quarterback play. Drake May, had some elite receivers. God, they got O'Myron Hampton, one of the best backs in the country. But man, it just seems like defensively, in big games, whether it was Clemson, whether it's Miami, whether it's some of those teams, they never could close. You know what I mean? Just the defense gets exposed. And I'm with you. Mac's getting up there in age. Like I said, he is one of 3 coaches still walking around with a national title, still coaching today, which is crazy.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I mean, Mac, like you said, he's a great coach. You hate to see it for him. Obviously, you hope he could kind of go out with a bang, but I think North Carolina is getting further and further away from a title hope or title aspirations, as it were. So, yeah. All right. Quinn Ewers hurt. Texas leaning on Arch Manning to get his first start, right? They play, who's it, UL Monroe tonight?
Yeah, a lot of drama saying that, man, it's kind of a quarterback battle. I don't know how much of that's true. I think both are obviously very talented. There's no doubt about it. Arch Manning's going to be a good quarterback in college football. I there's no doubt about that. But me and you said this all the time about Quinn Ewers, though, man. He has gotten hurt for a majority of how many seasons now? He is very injury prone. I'm not trying to shit on Ewers, but I mean, what happens if Arch Manning? I mean, I don't know, how long is Ewers out for? Do you know, Christian?
I think a few weeks, maybe. I mean, at least this week. I mean, they're doing the same thing where you're never really going to know. I don't know exactly how long he's going to be out for, but yeah, I mean, again, like you said, Chris, assuming that he doesn't play in like a pivotal matchup here, because I don't know who they play next week. They may have a bye week. I'm not sure. Texas might, but depending on what happens here, they need this. Very well could be the Arch Manning show, but I don't think you put enough stock in beating UL Monroe by 50 points or whatever they might beat them by today. Right. I think that Ewers is still your best shot for this season.
I agree.
And yeah, I mean, this is going to be a great matchup. I mean, on the other side of it, UL Monroe has the Booty General as their quarterback. General Booty, I think is his name.
Wasn't he at OU?
Part of that. Yeah, I think he was at OU there for a little bit. I think there was that family, the Booties or whatever it was. I just love saying that shit. It's kind of funny. But seriously, there's a great family that he comes from. Was it John David Booty or whatever, the former USC quarterback there, I think. I think he's part of that family. So,
yeah, no, like I said, Texas is going to roll today. Like I said, until they play, I know they got Georgia on the schedule. They got a couple big games, obviously, in the SEC this year. But, it must be nice, though, if, your starting quarterback is touted as Ewers is, you got a backup like that and Arch Manning waiting in the reins. You know what I mean? Not a lot of teams can say that. I mean, Michigan's struggling to find some guy off the street to play quarterback for them. Texas has got two elite ones there, obviously. So that's always nice.
Absolutely. Florida, it just gets worse. They are very banged up this year. Trey Wilson, their number one receiver, goes down. He's going to be out of this game against Mississippi State. What does that mean for Florida, Chris? And we're not trying to shit on Florida. I don't think it's just
no. I know I'm with you. Florida just. I mean, it's been. I knew it was going to be a bad season. I think you did too, as far as win predictions and totals go this year. But it has come. I mean, the beginning of the year was supposed to be the bright spot where they can maybe pick up a couple wins. You know what I mean? The A&M game was potentially a coin toss. The game against Miami, a lot of people thought Florida could have won that. Now you're going on the road to Mississippi State, who is an awful team in the SEC this year with a new coach. And now you lose Wilson, your best player. I mean, he's their best playmaker on offense. There's no doubt about it. And now, I mean, it just everything that could go wrong is going wrong for Florida right now. Napier on the hot seat. I don't think it matters if he wins this game or not today. I mean, I think they've already made the decision in my mind that they're probably going to move on from him. But it's just one thing after another for Florida.
Yeah, if they lose this game or they don't at least win it by 5 points, I will be right there on the front lines of getting Billy Napier fired. So need him to cover here.
Yeah,
majorly.
Yeah.
Right. We'll kind of break down some other action that happened, and we'll kind of get into some of the games today. South Alabama taking on App State. Chris, I know you were talking about that, and South Alabama beat the dog shit out of App State at home. So yeah, what was your thoughts about that?
I was surprised as shit that App State was 17-20 at home against Sun Belt opponents and got just completely dismantled by a major Applewhite-led team. I mean, South Alabama obviously can score points. They're the team that put up, 89 the week before against some elementary school, broke the Sun Belt record for most points scored in a game. But what happened to App State, the team that used to knock off some of these Power 5 schools once a year and play tight with some people? They looked horrible, Christian. I don't know what's going on at App State, man. Not that I follow these teams super closely, but App State was favored by 8 points in this game and just got completely blown out by halftime. It was 28-0.
Well, wasn't it? Didn't they play Clemson the week prior?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that was what it was. Clemson probably just kind of came in and knocked the shit out of them, and then South Alabama came off that mercy rule of a game the week prior, and just we talk about it every week on the show. You look at Florida State, confidence. That's the one word I can say, confidence. I think on paper, App State has the better team, but
Yeah,
As we well know, the game isn't played on paper.
absolutely.
All right, Chris, I'm going to let you take the reins here on this one.
I'll be honest with you. I talked to you a little bit before the show. You're the only person I've really talked to about the game other than my dad last night, who I thought was going to break the TV. I don't know. I don't know where to start here. By the way, I'm going to start with this because obviously I see a lot of stuff online. The fact that people are using the excuse here in Nebraska that the refs lost the game for us is absolutely idiotic. They didn't. Not the reason why we missed a field goal, why we couldn't cover receivers in the end zone. Was there some questionable and some bad calls in this game? Yeah, but you could say that about every game. Nebraska got Matt Rule got out coached in this game, big time. The piss poor timeout management in the second half, even the first half, we got lucky and scored that crazy touchdown at halftime, which was great. He didn't use a timeout. We let like a minute 20 burn off the clock there. I thought that was absolutely stupid. I got in an argument with one of my friends about it. I don't know what that was all about. Burning, like I said, the 2 timeouts on challenges was absolutely dumb too. You need those timeouts, Christian, as you know, at the end of games. They're huge, especially in a game like this. I think everybody and their dog knew that this game was going to come down to a last possession type of game. It's just the way it was. Illinois is a very well-coached team. Brett Bielema was not scared of Nebraska. He's coached us against us before when he was at Wisconsin. Major concerns about the defense. I don't know what the front 7 was doing last night, but they got about 0 pressure. The secondary looked terrible. I mean, they did. They couldn't stop a play action pass inside the 10-yard line. All 4 of Altmaier's touchdowns were the exact same play, just a different receiver on the other end of it. Was absolutely embarrassing. There's a stat going around before this game, Christian, I mentioned to you, Nebraska has only scored like 6.7 points in the second halves of football games so far after 3 games. That's a little concerning. You know what they did last night? They scored 1 touchdown in the second half again. You talked about it on our show, said, Nebraska needs to play a complete football game here. In the second half, they didn't. And there's a lot of question marks concerning the defense. We didn't run the ball particularly well. Did Dylan Raiola make plays? Yeah, he did. Thank God we have him. And thank God our receivers made some absolute ridiculous catches last night and great body control, great hands. I'm not mad at the receivers. I'm not mad at Dylan Raiola at all. But the inability to run the football on the ground, the inability to call proper timeouts and save them to the end of the game, the missed kick, a 38-yarder. I'm not trying to get on this whole kicker spiel, but I made a 38-yarder in high school and I can barely kick. I mean, I don't know, Christian. Like I said, I was about ready to erupt when I came on here and I calmed myself down because it was a very painful way to lose last night to a very good Illinois team, and Nebraska doing what they always do. They can't get the monkey off their back in close games. They find ways to lose every single time. And it was sad, Christian, and I'll let you talk here in a minute and get your point of view on this. But when you're playing at home and the crowd was loud last night, I was really excited about the fan base and how they reacted. Dylan Raiola getting up after a big throw and pointing this way, and the crowd 400 sellout game. You got to win that football game. Was Nebraska the better team as far as talent on the field? They were, but they got outcoached. They got outplayed on the defensive side of the ball.
No, I 100% agree with you, Chris. The penalties, I think you touched on that a little bit. The penalties was a main thing, in this one. Nebraska just committed a lot of penalties, I thought, in this one. The other side of it, to me, like you said, was their inability to score in that second half. It just seemed like, I don't know. It's not that they got conservative in the second half. It's just Illinois stepped up, bowed up, and they forced Nebraska to beat them. I mean, they weren't really given anything in that second half in the run game there. They put a lot of pressure on Raiola. I thought offensively, the thing that I saw for Illinois was Nebraska, to me, seemed like they took their foot off the gas on defense. They didn't really blitz them. I didn't really see too much in this game. And because of that, they let Altmaier kind of pick them apart. And I also thought at times Illinois was really able to lean on that run game. They were able to get 5-6 yards here, 5-6 yards there. I mean, they were able to kind of do what they wanted. They were able to kind of get their tight ends involved and spread the ball around, I thought, in this one. And they just did what they needed to do to keep themselves in that game. The one thing I want to take away from this is third down defense. Okay. Third down defense. Nebraska couldn't get off the field. And that was really, really tough to watch. If you're a Nebraska fan. Chris, you touched on the main part of this, and I want to kind of talk about that is close games. You got to, at some point, get that monkey off your back. and not against, not against superior, subpar teams, but we're talking about, a top 25 team in Illinois who now has all the confidence in the world as they get ready to go play Penn State next week. We'll see what that is. I don't know if that's going to result in Illinois winning or not, but I think if you're Nebraska right now, you got to regroup. You've got, I don't think they were looking ahead because they play Purdue next week, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like they're looking ahead to Purdue, who just got the shit out of them. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I think, like you said, this is this isn't the worst thing in the world. Obviously, it stings, but this can be a season-defining moment if you're Nebraska, where you regroup and you reshape. Here in a couple of weeks, you're going to play Indiana right before the Ohio State game. That's another sort of trap game that could be on the schedule there for you. Got to figure out how to score points in that second half and just keep your foot on the gas. Again, I don't know whether that's try to make more plays with Raiola or open the playbook up. I don't know if that's try to lean on the run game a little bit more, which I think they've been doing. They've kind of gotten very conservative. So I do think they need to try to open it up a little more, let Raiola sling that motherfucker, and just go from there.
Well, no, you said it best. And that's where I just couldn't understand last night in the second half was the offensive line didn't create a hole for any of our running backs. I think Dowdell had 20 carries last night, and I think he had like a grand total of 70 yards. But if you look at the stats at the end of the game, we had a total of 50 yards rushing because that includes the sacks by Raiola took and all that other shit. You can't become so one-dimensional. I was reading last night, there were people online saying, oh, Nebraska needs to throw the ball more and throw it every down. No, you're an idiot. Good teams are balanced. I'm not saying you got to run the ball 60 times, but Illinois figured it out. And then the flip side, they started running the ball on us, which me and you had major concerns. We said this about the Northern Iowa game, right? They pushed us around running the football. That's all they could do. But Illinois took that page in the fourth quarter, ran it right down our throats, 6-7 yards a pop. They controlled the clock. They were like, hey, we're going to keep Raiola off the field because, like I said, Raiola was on fire. He had that real nice drive in the second half, and that was the only nice drive Nebraska had. And I'm with you. I think my biggest concern is some of the clock management and timeout management with Rule. And what the hell was Tony White doing on the defense, dude? They didn't make any adjustments. That's where I'm concerned about Nebraska's defense, which, mind you, has 10 like freaking seniors on it and returned like the third most production in the country. I thought we could rely on that defense this year. So I'm with you, Christian. This is a do or die moment, make or break after this game. Nebraska needs to respond. Either you respond positively and get your head out of your ass and continue playing football the way you know how to play and clean up the goddamn penalties. Mind you, again, guys, 9 penalties for 90 yards last night. Illinois had 3 for 20. You got to clean it up. That shit can't exist. A guy punching another guy. They were mainly on the defense, right? A face mask that you didn't need to stick your arm out there. You just can't do that. I mean, these kids aren't grade school kids anymore. These are college guys making money now. You got to be smarter than that and quit putting your team in jeopardy. You can't. And you said it best. I'm going to end with this. Third down. I think Illinois was like 8 of 14 or 9 of 14 last night on third down. You got to be able to get off the field in those situations.
Chris, can you at least admit it? That interception Illinois had, it's disgusting. It was, I mean, I know it was against the Huskers, but if it was against anybody else,
oh yeah,
that was some great shit.
No. By the way, people saying that wasn't a pick, you're an idiot. That was an interception. He won that ball at the end there. I thought that was a great play by Illinois. I also think though that we made a nice play, right? It hit Altmaier in the fourth quarter there and caused him a fumble, and we got the ball back. And I thought, okay, like you said it best, put the game away, go down there and drive the ball. And what do we do? Couple penalties, shoot ourselves in the foot, go to kick a 38-yarder. And what do we do? Christian didn't even give it a chance to go in. And I don't want to get stuck on the kicker. I know you love talking about kickers, but I'm going to go warm the leg up, man, because I could have made that. I really could have. That he never even gave that thing a chance.
What was it old Manning used to say? Our idiot kicker got all liquored up and started going on fucking. Oh, man. I want to talk about another game that I'm very angry at, and that's Syracuse and Stanford. Yeah, Chris. So I watched pretty much all this game. Syracuse got shocked by Stanford. Stanford really, only gave the game away. I think the only point that Syracuse actually led in this game was with about 3 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. Went up. It was 24-23. We've said this all off season, or we said this all season. Syracuse defensively, I think, has struggled pretty much all year. Their defense, to me, didn't look terrible at points of this game. When it mattered the most, though, that's when Stanford took advantage of them. Syracuse offensively, they struggled to run the football.
Oh,
They had 26 yards rushing in this game. They are such a one-trick pony, I feel like, that it really made it very difficult in this game. They gave Stanford the ball back with just over 2 minutes or whatever it was to go, and Stanford just methodically moved the ball down the field. Syracuse got them in a fourth, and I think it was like 8. It was fourth and long, pretty much. Stanford was able to convert when it mattered the most. They went to their guy, number 13. What was his name again?
Allamore, whatever. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, is their number one receiver, and everybody in the stadium knew who the ball was going to in that situation, who they've been trying to get the ball to all night. Had to throw it. They single cover him, back shoulder fade, quarterback power, kick a game-winning field goal. And to me, disappointed. And the reason why I'm disappointed, obviously, is because I took Syracuse in the money line and parlayed it with Illinois plus 7.5. So, yeah, I'm pretty pissed off about that. But, yeah, just Syracuse in a get-right spot, and Stanford, let me ask you this question, Chris, about this game. Is this speak more about Stanford, or does this say more about Syracuse, do you think? Is Stanford better than we thought, or is Syracuse worse than we thought?
I think this is kind of a combination of both. Stanford was supposed to be the worst ACC team in the country this year. A lot of people had them pegged as one of the worst Power 4 schools in the country. They're definitely better. Their defense, actually, run defense is pretty decent. When they played TCU a couple weeks ago, and they damn near won that game. But Syracuse, man, all we heard was Kyle McCord, and I thought they could have run the football a little bit in this game. And you're right, Kyle McCord had 2 interceptions in this game as well. Pretty crucial. He threw the one for a pick 6, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Syracuse, man, you're at home too. That's what killed me. It's like, you're at home. You got to win that football game. I'm with you. Christian, outside of Miami, I don't know what the ACC is anymore. I really don't.
It's Miami and maybe Clemson against everybody
Louisville,
else.
I guess, is still running around. We'll find out what they are here in a couple weeks. We'll
find out what they are today. I'm still, like I said, I'm a little higher on Georgia Tech than I was coming into the season. I think they cover that game. I think they got a shot. But we're going to find out like you said, we're going to find out what some of these teams are. Yeah. Clemson's taking on NC State. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, Swag, I'm going to answer that question here in just a minute when we get to them. The Gators, anyways. San Jose State taking on Washington State. This was a track meet of all track meets. Over 106 points exactly scored in this game. So went to 2 overtimes, Chris. Probably game of the weekend so far.
Yeah, I caught this up till a little bit of the third quarter, and I went to bed. But you want to talk about, and I'm not shitting on these teams. It's good for both of them. It's great. But there is absolutely zero defense played over there on the West Coast. I mean, this game was, if you love stats and you love quarterbacks that could run around and throw for 400 yards, that was the game for you. Ultimate track meet game. Washington State turning a little bit of heads, though, man. Beat Washington last week. That was a big win in the Apple Cup for them. All right, they got a few playmakers on that team, too. If you don't watch them play, or you haven't watched them play, they actually got some pretty good little players back there. It actually, I shouldn't call them little, but very, very surprising. San Jose State was undefeated into this game. So was Washington State, by the way. So both teams had something to play for here.
Washington State, the pride and joy of the Pac-2 right now. So, yeah, Chris, I mean, you talked about it. We coined a phrase. We want to start coining this phrase, West Coast. You've heard of the West Coast offense. How about the West Coast defense?
Yeah.
Just let them fucking score.
Yeah, it's just optional. You don't roll anybody out there. Don't worry about it. Our offense will score here in a minute. That's pretty much what it looked like last night. That's how those late games go, man. They always do.
All the offense, none of the defense.
Yeah.
Kind of like crazy. Going to Thanksgiving and being like, I don't want that green bean casserole, Grandma. What I want all the fixins. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All that shit that got me to where I'm at right now, big dog. The fixins. All right. Marshall taking on Ohio State. Marshall pulled the upset a few years ago against Notre Dame. They got any shot in this one, Chris?
No, Ohio State. Like I said, Ohio State's got to play somebody, and they will here shortly. But no, Ohio State's just too talented, man. Even if they make mistakes in this game, or if it's close at halftime, which it might be, you never know. Ohio State's a team right now I don't even want to really talk about much because they haven't really had to play anybody. You know what I mean? Like they're not involved in one big game right now. They haven't for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, I did see something. The only thing that makes this interesting to me is Marshall's coach. said that any of the Ohio State players that want to transfer, I forgot what restaurant he said, but he said he'd buy them as much of that, food as they wanted. So I guess we're doing that now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Way to recruit players. Okay.
Yeah. Openly recruiting players. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. It'd be like Matt Rule coming out and saying, hey, any Georgia players that want to come up here, we'll buy you as much Runza as you guys possibly want.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, we could use it on the defensive side of the ball. Use some of those Georgia guys. Maybe their coordinator as well, from what I saw last night.
NC State taking on Clemson. NC State starting a true freshman quarterback. Anyway, is NC State, did they even have a shot in this one?
I know this sounds crazy. I don't know why. I feel like I know the spread's like 18 or whatever the hell it is, 17 and a half. I think NC State might be able to hang in this game. At some point, NC State's got to play a decent game. They haven't played well at all this year. I wasn't as sold on Grayson McCall as some people were. I think that NC State will hang in this game for a while. Is Clemson the better team? Yes. You got to remember, though, NC State did beat them last year. I know this is at Clemson, tough place to play. I get it. But I think NC State will hang in this game for a half. I do. Will they win the game? Probably not. That would shock me if NC State pulled the upset off, especially with a new quarterback in there.
I think Clemson beats the dog shit out of them.
All right. Roll Tigers.
Roll Tigers. All right. Florida and Mississippi State. I'm going to answer SWAG's questions first here. If Florida loses today, how long does it take for Florida to fire Billy before getting off the field or before going on the plane? Before he ever gets off that field, he'll get fired if he loses to Mississippi State, as he should. Mississippi State's one of the that's not one of, they are the worst team in the SEC, hands down. Vandy would never lose to, well, I don't think Vandy loses to straight up Arizona State, and they damn sure wouldn't get blown out by something called Toledo at home. They would never. So yeah, I mean, Florida, don't get me wrong. I know Florida's season hasn't gone the way they wanted to. Even without Trey Wilson, even doing whatever they're doing at quarterback, they should take care of business against Mississippi State today. And like I said, they should silence the hell out of those cowbells, I think. I've had to talk Chris into this one. He did not want to take Florida. Not to disrespect Florida. It's just betting on this game is really, really hard. I think it's a coin flip. In a lot of ways, I think a lot of Florida fans kind of want them to lose so they can go ahead and end this, because if they do come out and look halfway decent and beat some, Mississippi State, what does that really mean? Does that mean Napier survives another week? What does that truly mean? We don't really know. So, Chris, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you. I mean, like I said, Billy Napier's gone regardless. But yeah, this if they don't win this game, Florida might not win 2 games this season. I mean, seriously, this front half of the season was supposed to be, hey, maybe we could beat A&M. Maybe, a lot of people, including Gators swag over there, thought they were going to beat Miami, which I still think is crazy for even thinking that. But at some point, they got to win a game here. They got to beat an SEC opponent, and there's no doubt about it. Yeah, Mississippi State's not a very good football team. I mean, like you just mentioned their losses. I mean, they're terrible. They're under a new coach. They've had a lot of problems there. They got to be able to get this win on the road. And I hope for Florida's sake, I took the money line today and parlayed it with another team. I hope to God they win. First time I'll be rooting for Florida all year and probably the last, but they got to be able to get a dub here today. Otherwise, yeah, Gator Nation's going to go nuts, man. I don't know how they don't win this football game. Honestly, Christian.
Yeah,
I mean, they got one win on the year right now. Florida, they're 1-2.
Yeah. Yeah. If they don't win this game by at least 5 points, I mean, I'll be right there in the picket line.
Yeah.
I'll help you guys pay that buyout if we have to. We got to get Billy gone.
Jesus.
That happens. So moving ahead here, Kansas taking on West Virginia in the Who Gives a Shit Bowl. But these were 2 teams we kind of touched on, Chris, that we really had high hopes for that have really underperformed, I thought, going into this year. I was really high on West Virginia, and I was somewhat high on Kansas. I think you were you weren't as high on West Virginia, but I know. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this one?
It's sad because I think, you look at these 2 teams to start the year. West Virginia had the big game against Penn State. I know, we thought that maybe there was a way Penn State could pull that upset off, got kind of blown out in the second half. But regardless, we thought, okay, they're going to beat the shit out of Pitt. And they pissed that game down their leg last week. Against Pitt in the backyard brawl. They did. They were up by 10 with 4 minutes left and somehow lost that game. And then Kansas is the one that really shocked me this year. Lost to Illinois, which I think Illinois is a good team, but Daniels turned the ball over like 4 times in that game, Christian. And Then they lost to God. Who was the other? Why am I drawing a blank right now? Who else they get beat by? They got beat again last week. Who the hell was it? Who beat them? Somebody beat them. Oh, was it? Why am I drawing a blank here? Who the hell was a Big 12 team? Wasn't it? Who the hell was it? UNLV. Oh, UNLV on Thursday night or Friday night. Yeah, Kansas. I don't know. This game was to me was going to be a real big game this week. I had it circled before the season started because I thought both these teams would probably be 2-1 at worst. Maybe one team was 3-0. They're both 1-2 now. This is a must win for one of these two teams. I mean, obviously somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose, but if West Virginia starts out 1-3 or Kansas starts out 1-3, holy shit, man. Not a good look for the Big 12. I do think this game is going to be really close. I think it's a pick 'em right now. I'm leaning Kansas today. I wouldn't tail me on that bet, but yeah, not impressed with either of these two teams this year, especially offensively from both of them. I'll wrap this up quick, Christian. We thought that Garrett Green was going to have a breakout season this year. I think you did too. Hasn't probably played as well as he should have. And in Daniels, right? This kid's been starting since a freshman. Hasn't looked very good at all this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that West Virginia. I hate to say this. What's their best loss? Penn State. What's Penn State's best win besides West Virginia? Bowling Green.
Oh, yeah, which they almost fucked around and got beat. Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, I'll take West Virginia because I feel like at some point one of these two teams is going to do something that they shouldn't, and so it just happens to be against each other. Yeah, give me West Virginia in this one. Hey, Chris. Oh, we got USC taking on Michigan here at the Big House, 2:30 today. Yeah, I mean, I'll start us off here. Look, Michigan's starting, Alex Orji in this one. I think both these teams defensively are pretty similar as far as their total defense, where they rank at coming into this game. Michigan, for them to have a shot, they need to get a lead. They need to try to control that clock. They need to try to keep the ball out of USC's hands. If they get down in this one early, I don't see a way they come back. I just don't.
No, I'm on the same boat here. I have yet to bet this yet because that spread has come down from -6.5. Now it's down to 4 currently. I'm waiting for a little bit better number. Would love to see it at 3. But, yeah, I think USC wins this game. I do. I do think it'll be close. But, again, on these types of games, I look at, okay, who's the better coach? Well, I got to lean Lincoln Riley there. Who's a better quarter? It's Miller Moss by a mile. I don't care who Michigan rolls out at quarterback. You want to look at the defense. I do think Michigan's defense is still decent, but when you're out on the field a majority of the game, I don't care how good your defense is. It's hard to win that way, right? Christian, we said that about Nebraska last year in their defense on the field 70% of the time. When your offense can't sustain drives, and we haven't seen Michigan do it yet this year. We saw the Texas game and what happens when you play a really good football team. Michigan got blown out. Texas could have beat them 55-10 if they wanted to in that game. They kind of took their foot off the gas in the second half. I do think Michigan will play better today than they did against Texas, but make no mistake, Miller Moss is a very good quarterback too. He can throw the football. And USC's defense, I think we both got to admit, they've kind of taken a step forward from that disastrous year they had last year defensively. I still got to lean USC here, and I would say probably by a touchdown at least.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. I agree. UCLA taking on LSU, some team from, I think, Los Angeles is where they play from what I've been told. Taking on LSU, who survived South Carolina last week, but it's at Death Valley. LSU should roll in this one, but you never know.
Yeah. UCLA is not a very good team. One of the worst teams, obviously, in the Big Ten. I hate to say that about UCLA. But they're kind of in a whole rebuild. Coaching, you mentioned it, the coaching staff, and they lost a lot of players when Chip Kelly left as well. So I would think today, since the game is played at Tiger Stadium, I would assume LSU goes out. I think they're going to roll today, but they have some major question marks, though, after that game against South Carolina last week.
100%. Get right moment for both these teams. Who wants it more? Give me LSU and the Tigers, or however the hell Brian Kelly would say it. I'm not going to slam my table. I might break it.
Yeah, don't do that.
Georgia Tech taking on Louisville. To me, this is a trap game for Louisville. I don't know why.
Okay.
We got people saying Georgia Tech beats Louisville. It's just a trap game to me.
10 points, man. Louisville's favored by 10 here. This is Louisville's biggest test. They've beaten everybody by 1 million that they've supposed to win by. this will be. I'm with you. I don't really know if I'll bet this game or not because I don't know. I know what Georgia Tech. I think I know what they are, but I don't know what Louisville is here. I'm with you. Could Georgia Tech win this football game? Yes, I think they could. They probably got a good chance in this. I don't know. Is Louisville the same team they were last year with the good defense? You know, I don't know. I wish I had a game to judge Louisville off of, Christian. That's my biggest question mark. They got a new quarterback in there. You know, Brom's a good coach. They had a really good defense last season, but this is 2024, and they haven't played anybody yet. And maybe they go out and blow the doors off, and maybe it's Louisville and Miami this year, the two best teams in the ACC. But I'm with you, Georgia Tech. This does kind of smell like a trap game. I'm with you there.
Yeah, and I think too. I mean, if Georgia Tech beats Louisville, the ACC will be in free fall for sure. I mean, just as far as who you can want. I mean, especially if Miami comes out and struggles against USF or South Florida, I should say. Which I know South Florida is a good team, but you know, at the same time, I mean, you should handle business, right? If you're that great of a team, you should still handle them pretty well. I know Bama struggled with them, but they struggled with them last year. So yeah, I mean, it'll depend. I think at the very least, Tech will cover, you know, that 10-point spread there. So yeah. Arkansas on the road against Auburn. Somebody's got to win this game. Somebody has to do it. Gonna go with boy. God bless. What's his name?
Who's that?
What's his name? I'm drawing a blank.
Is it Brown?
No. My favorite coordinator.
Oh, Petrino?
Bobby Petrino. That's
the
who.
Boy? Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to delete him from my memory after what he did to my Falcons, so you know how that goes.
Oh, nice.
Bobby Petrino taking on the Hugh Freeze experiment. They're still starting that quarterback. Who's it? Hank Brown or whatever it is. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm leaning Arkansas, but I could see Auburn for whatever reason just coming out and putting on a clinic here too, for whatever reason. And when I say clinic, what I mean is, did they hold back in that last game? Because they kind of struggled, I felt like, in the first half of that last game. And they looked very vanilla. So I don't know.
I'm not. I'll tell you as a betting person, I'm not touching this game. I don't like either team here. I don't know what either team is. You'd like to think Auburn wins this game playing at home, but tell Cal that. So
it's tough. I think if I had to pick, I'd probably take Arkansas. But every time you get any kind of expectations for Arkansas, they just give it right back to you. So
right.
Speaking of Arkansas giving things to people, we got Oklahoma State taking on Utah. We kind of touched on that a little bit. Yeah. Who's going to be at quarterback for Utah, to me, determines a lot of this. You know, Alan Bowman, Chris, you told me this. I didn't realize this. Bowman is right up there with Cam Rising, like a seventh-year guy. I mean, he's 45 years old. He's getting ready to get his AARP card sent to him when it comes to college football.
Yeah.
The one thing that I like about Rising that I've criticized Bowman about at times is Bowman in these big games seems to kind of disappear.
He has they're going to rely on Ollie Gordon. Utah's pretty good against the run, though. So Bowman's going to have to make some plays. I don't know. This game is weird because if Cam Rising plays, I really like Utah, like I told you in this game. If he doesn't, then I got to, rely on the MILF Hunter's brother, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not. He's played well last week. But Oklahoma State, I do have major concerns about the defense, but there's no doubt about it. Oklahoma State, on the flip side of that, got a pretty potent offense. They got two really good receivers. Bowman is a very streaky dude, man. He gets hot and he gets cold. He gets hot, he gets cold. He's really tough to predict. I like the fact that Oklahoma State is playing at home today. I think that'll definitely help. But yeah, I don't know, man. This will be a good game. One of the better games of the day for sure. Obviously, there's a lot of Big 12 implications on the line as well.
Yeah, 100%. If they win, this makes that Kansas State game next week a lot. Actually, depending on this outcome, I mean, you could make the argument either way. If Oklahoma State loses this game, they're going to go in pissed off to play Kansas State and try to spoil Kansas State's season.
Yep.
So, but if they win, I mean, potentially you could make the argument that, I'm sure Kansas State will be favored, assuming they take care of business. Or I don't know if they're on a bye week this week. I haven't
got BYU tonight.
Oh, yeah. They got BYU. So depending on the outcomes of both their games, I mean, you could make the argument Oklahoma State could be a trap game for Kansas State. So, yeah, no, I agree with you. It'll be interesting to see kind of what happens in that game. Looking forward to it. Vandy taking on Missouri. Missouri kind of had a little. I mean, they won the game, but it was a letdown of a game. I feel like last week against Boston College. I still don't know what Boston College is. I mean, they got that quarterback Castellanos. They got Billy O.B. out there. Bill O'Brien is their head coach. So
Done a good job.
I think they're a good program. But when you're the number 7 team in the country, I think they were number 6 last week or something like that. You're a top 10 team in the country. Speaking about this from experience, you shouldn't struggle at home, right, against something called Boston College, regardless of it. So Vandy in a letdown spot last week against Georgia State.
Yeah. God, they needed that win too, man. After 2-0 start the season, big win over Virginia Tech, Christian.
I mean, like you said, they really needed it. So I almost wonder, I think Vandy can hang around in this one for a little bit. I don't know if they've got the dogs or the resources to beat Missouri at home today.
Yeah, no, I take Mizzou. I think Mizzou will play better. They played a pretty sloppy half against Boston College. I think they get back on track here. Mizzou does, but like I said, I do think Vandy's a better team than what we thought they were going to be this season. They've actually done a pretty decent job for Vandy.
We don't have to go super in depth with this one. Miami taking on South Florida. This is going to tell me really what Miami is, right? Okay. If they come in and they take care of business, cool. But you can lean on Miami as probably being the favorite to win the ACC. If they struggle against South Florida, I'm still going to have questions about Miami.
Yeah, I honestly think Miami goes out and handles business today. I just think Cam Ward's too good. He's a good quarterback, obviously. I'm really high on him. Their defense has got a lot of playmakers on it. I do think South Florida can hang in this game for a little bit, maybe, but these two teams know each other. I got to take Miami here.
Cal taking on Florida State.
Give me Cal.
You want Cal? If they listen, I know they said they can't fire, Mike Norvell, but I mean, if he goes 0-4. If Cal figures out a way to beat Florida State, I know they beat Auburn, right? I know they beat Auburn on the road. But if they figure out a way to beat Florida State on the road here, I mean, they'll have to try to figure out some way to get rid of him. I don't know.
I don't think they will. I don't think they will this year. I think next year will be the year. They paid him $100 million last season in the middle of the year. I think that FSU's got a lot of money wrapped up in fucking suing people right now. I truly believe he can use the excuse, well, I got a bunch of transfer portal players because he lives in there. I'm with you. I'm not saying I don't think Mike Norvell's that good a coach. I don't. They got to win a game, obviously, but until they prove to me they can beat somebody, because they've been favored in all 3 games and have lost all 3. I'll take Cal on the points here today.
Yeah, I'd almost be willing, if I'm Florida State, if they lose this, and let me see something here real quick. I want to just see who they play next week. At SMU, I mean, it's a toss-up. I mean, if they start the year off, let's say, and they go 1-5, fire them, because they play Clemson right after that. So fire him, promote like your quarterback coach, pay him probably $500,000 a year or whatever the hell it is. I don't know. Let him be your head coach. Live in some squander for a few years. Try to find a big name guy coming out of it and move on. We'll talk about Tennessee taking on Oklahoma. Oklahoma offensively has not been great. They have been super banged up at the wide receiver position. Their offensive line hasn't looked great. Jackson Arnold's been running life, leads the team in rushing. Chris, you touched on Tennessee and what they've been this year. They've looked pretty good. Now, who they've played, is up for debate, because NC State has not been that great coming into this, I think. And outside of them, they played a couple of elementary schools that a lot of Tennessee fans get fired up about.
Yeah, I know a lot of sharp actions coming in on Oklahoma today and the points. I guess I'm completely the other side on this. I don't see a way Oklahoma can keep up offensively with Tennessee. I know you said it best. They played a couple elementary schools, but Tennessee's going to score. I mean, they just are. They got one of the best. They got the best offense in the country statistic-wise outside of Ole Miss right now. which hasn't played anybody either. But I just don't see, and you get people are sleeping on them. I did early in the year was the defense of Tennessee's been really, really good, especially that front seven. Oklahoma's going to have to score in the 30s today to win this football game. I just don't think it's going to be enough. I don't, because you said it best, and I mentioned this on the preview prediction video. Oklahoma's given up 10 sacks this year. You can't let Tennessee's front seven eat up the backfield like that. If they do, and they put Jackson Arnold on his ass, there's no way in hell Oklahoma's going to be able to score enough points. Give me Tennessee by 14.
Tennessee by 14. I like it. Iowa taking on Minnesota. Now, Chris, you actually like Minnesota in this one.
I like the points. I think this game will be 9-3. Something like that, 9-6, 12-10, 15-13. I like to think that Iowa could win this game, but we saw this last year too with this game. Minnesota knocked them off with that terrible play call at the end with the return punt for a touchdown. But Minnesota is very similar. The Max Brosmer experience isn't working out there at quarterback very well. Minnesota likes to run the ball a lot. So does Iowa. I just see this being a very low scoring field goal fest type of game. Does Iowa win it? Maybe. I guess I'm just not sold on Iowa, Christian. They're well coached. I mean, they don't beat themselves, but Minnesota's a very similar team that way too. You know what I mean? They're a very fundamentally sound football team. We've watched both of them play a lot. I think this game's going to be close. I know you're probably going to tell me you're leaning Iowa by 40 today.
No, I'm not leaning Iowa by 40. I am leaning Iowa probably by like a field goal or something like that. Okay. But no, I can't do that. I mean, I think Iowa, like you said, to me, I think Iowa is a little more consistent offensively, I would say. Defensively, I would say Iowa's a little better than Minnesota, but both of them have pretty decent defenses. That's why I lean Iowa. But again, you never know. I mean, you never know in these games.
You don't.
So I would have picked Iowa by over Iowa State. I think you took Iowa State in that one just because it was a weird game. So it was a good call.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, not a very interesting game as far as points can be scored in that one. I'll be surprised if it's whoever gets to freaking 14 first.
Baylor taking on Colorado. Be interesting. I know Baylor hasn't been great. They've actually played decent on defense. They played pretty decent on defense, right?
Yeah, no, their defense has been fairly solid. I don't know who wins this game today. I'd probably lean Colorado if I had to lean a team here, Christian. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. They got the bigger name players, obviously. I just think they find a way to get a win today. I do think that game is going to be a close game, though. I do.
I think Baylor figures out a way to win it.
Okay.
This is that Stanford situation from last year. Team that has no expectations. Everybody's sleeping on them. It's the one game that they're going to pull an upset in. It's against Colorado, 7:00. It just has that feel to me. So it speaks to me. Baylor speaks to me in this. I think probably one of the last games we'll touch on here. Kansas State and BYU. Now, I want to touch on this one because Kansas State, number 13 in the country, coming off a pretty big win over Arizona last week. BYU is BYU is a tough place to play. They seem to be kind of a trap game every year. They win a game they shouldn't win. Can they do it?
I think this game will be close within a touchdown. I think K-State finds a way to pull this off. But BYU, I did watch them play one time this year. It was on one of those Friday or Thursday nights. I was very impressed. What's it? Bronco Mendenhall is the coach's name. He's been around a while. Fundamentally sound team. They got a few playmakers on offense. I do think Utah hangs in this game for a while. I do. I'm with you, Christian. This could be upset alert here. Late night game. Utah would pull, or excuse me, not Utah, but if BYU would pull that off, that'd be huge because K-State's got a big game next week against Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I think BYU pulls it here.
Okay.
I think BYU pulls the upset, yeah.
All right.
Just, I don't know, they speak to me again. Sometimes it speaks to me, it gets me in trouble when it comes to betting, but that's okay. You live and die by the sword. It got me. If I would have bet on that Duke Clemson game last year, by God, we'd have been straight.
Yeah, it's true. This is true. Very true.
Right. Chris, we got about 40 minutes before first kick of the day. So we, show's getting ready to come to an end here. Obviously, Chris, any closing thoughts here before we get off here?
No, I think other than I think this will be a good week of football. There's some really big games this afternoon and tonight. I can't wait to watch the Tennessee-Oklahoma game. And actually the USC-Michigan game will be very interested. I'll be very interested to see how the outcome of that game goes and just how those two teams play, because they both played really good teams already. LSU playing USC, and then obviously Michigan already playing Texas. There's a lot riding on this. Obviously now they're both in the Big Ten, so tale of two teams maybe here, but I'm looking forward to those two games probably the most.
Yeah, 100% agree with you, Chris. Some good games on today. Hopefully everybody has a great Saturday. And as always here at the I-80 Boys, we